Breaking news, Nigel Farage has been milkshaked. This is not a drill. While campaigning in the rather nice-looking streets of Newcastle, a place I have never been, Nigel Farage was doused by a frothing-at-the-mouth neckbeard with a Street Fighter t-shirt. The man apparently did not do this out of a sudden rush of passion. This was not, by any means, third or second-degree milkshaking. This was a premeditated case of first-degree milkshaking. The man, apparently under the handle at the Mad Brewery, tweeted a picture of his milkshake and saying that there was a Brexit rally in town today that he was planning to attend. And then after Farage was milkshaked, he replied to that same tweet and said, "I did it. It was Farage," gleefully admitting to what he had done. Now, this case is by no means a major tragedy, and I don't think the guy should probably even get any prison time for it. But this is yet another example of the left's incapability of discussing and debating people who disagree with them. They simply can't understand that anyone could have a different opinion than they do. It's this lack of understanding of others that leads them to fear their political opponents and ultimately leads them to lash out in these sorts of tantrums that don't accomplish much but make them feel good on the inside. As first pointed out, at least to me, by Murray Rothbard, progressive politics as developed in the late 19th century and still practiced today is less so an ideology rooted in reason and the Enlightenment, but rather in a degree of faith. And that is why debate with the left quite often, at least with progressives on the left, is useless and pointless. Their perspective, their policy positions are informed by their progressive religion, and to stand up against the church, as it were, and to disagree and to propose other ideas, such as, say, leaving the European Union, it's not only incorrect, it's heresy, it's evil, it's satanic. When these mouth-breathing neckbeards throw their milkshakes on folks like Nigel Farage, they feel in their hearts that they are truly spitting in the face of demons. And as with all political religions, then, just as with radical Islam and the like, and Shintoism in Japan, you cannot defeat these people you cannot defeat their ideas through logic and reason. You can only defeat them by vanquishing them politically. No matter what ways you present your case and state why you, a patriotic British person, would, for whatever reason, want to support Brexit, they can never see you as anything but a Russian puppet or a racist, because those words are codes for heretic. They do not understand that you were able to come to your own conclusions independent of, say, Putin and the Russians, considering the fact that the Russian government would somewhat like to see Brexit happen, and that many Britons would like to see Brexit happen. Progressives look at that and see, well, they see a correlation, and they draw the causation that Russians and Brexit supporters share the same religion. When they see that racists and ordinary British people can both support Brexit, they say that these ordinary British people must share the religion of racism. Reason is largely dead in the mainstream left. Farage is thankfully one of the few politicians in the English-speaking world who I think recognizes this. I think that's why he's been so successful. He's the only person that, one of the only people who directly stands up to these people and is not willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that they are in fact good, well-intentioned. And every time that you see a leftist lash out like this and try and throw their milkshake, as it were, on a Brexit supporter, Farage's case against them only becomes stronger, because they're showing everyone who perhaps was on the fence and perhaps reasonably came to the conclusion that they opposed Brexit, they can see that the Brexit side is largely a mass of unreasonable people. When they see this, I'm not going to call it violence, but this minor case of assault cheered online on Twitter by the Ramoner crowd, free-thinking Britons may just think twice about supporting these people in the next election. Because when it comes down to it, who do you think the average person in Britain wants in charge? Do you think they want someone who is calm and reasoned, but who they may disagree with some of the time? Or do you think they want the people who lash out in anger and throw temper tantrums when they don't get their way? I think that it is that you would probably not be seeing this string of milkshakings, as they're being called, were the Brexit Party not polling so high. And you could say, well, UKIP is polling way down at the bottom, and Tommy Robinson and Sargon of Akkad are also getting milkshaked. Oh, how do you explain that? Well, these people, I don't think, draw any distinction between the Brexit Party and UKIP, the folks on the left who are truly into the religion. Now, again, that's not every voter who happens to vote for left-wing parties, but that is those who occupy that intellectual tradition. These folks see no difference between Farage, Sargon, and Tommy Robinson, just as leftists in the U.S. see no difference between Richard Spencer, I think he's still around somewhere, and Donald Trump. Now, after this milkshaking, Farage, I think, had a pretty good response on Twitter. He basically said that this is more evidence that Ramoners, not respecting the Brexit vote, have degraded the quality of British democracy and have essentially normalized people delegitimizing election results. And while I think that is true, democracy is not exactly a hill that I'm willing to die on, because I think that democracy has been proven again and again to be a failed god. But the left, of course, considers themselves to be the vanguard defenders of democracy. So I think it is an effective tactic to attack the left and try and outflank them on the democratic spectrum, to point out their true hypocrisy, which is democracy is only good for the left when they win. So that's about all I have to say on that topic. If you gained anything of value from this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and subscribing. And if you do subscribe, please do click the bell, because I upload every day, and I try to follow a lot of topics from around the world, so I really hit a whole big gambit. I tend to focus on war and peace, but I'm also very interested in Brexit and really just anti-egalitarianism in general. So I hope you stay tuned, and I see you back here tomorrow.